It's another Manly Monday, and I am going to take a bit of a risk this Manly Monday. Well, it's not a risk. It's always a guarantee that some people won't get a Manly Monday video. But this has a larger than average potential for being misconstrued. And I'm doing this for the people that are actually interested and want to learn, for the peanut gallery that just wants to, that has inspired this video and just wants to be combative and contrarian. Don't bother. Like, just don't. This is a video where if you do that, you're completely missing the point. So if you actually find this content informative, if you find it challenging in a way that's good, you don't have to agree with everything I say, as long as you consider it for a few seconds. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Now, the downside of the YouTube medium is, in order to maintain people's interest, you have to speak assertively. And there's no dialogue. There's no way to see that somebody's read something the wrong way and correct it. It is a monologue. In many ways, I'm at a disadvantage that way. And there's many more nuances in a two-way conversation, or there should be. Sometimes there aren't. And that is part of the inspiration for the name of this video, The Guaranteed Way to Lose an Argument with a Woman. And I don't mean losing an argument on points. I mean, if you are at all interested in a woman, this is the fastest way to make her think that you are an asshole, even if you aren't. And this is one of those things. There are some things, and obviously individual results may vary, but they mean decidedly different things to the average guy. Note I said average, not all. Compared to what they mean to, I'd say, the average to most women. One of these things is the advice I give. People say, you sound like this, you sound like that. I am giving you advice to get the interest and have a hope in hell of dating sane or pleasantly crazy women with their general shit together. You know? And yes, so the advice differs radically from more pickup artist style videos or ones that get dates. You know, if you're just playing a numbers game, no, this isn't necessarily good advice. If you want a lasting relationship with a woman who's going to respect you and consider your feelings and not trample you with her $300 shoes, you might want to pay attention, okay? Because this is the best way I know to get any self-respecting woman to just stop listening to you and you don't have a chance anymore. When a woman says something like, stop being condescending, the wrong answer is, I'm not being condescending. When a woman says, can you stop being so aggressive? And this is true for people. Like, just don't do this with people, but especially women, because let's face it, there's a lot of heterosexual guys here. This is what it's about. Can you stop being so aggressive? I'm not being aggressive. Now, the reason this is a particular thing in, you know, heterosexual encounters, man-woman encounters, across the gender binary encounters, is because when it's two women doing it, or when it's two men doing it, there isn't that imbalance. There isn't that difference. Social training, there isn't the screening process that every woman does. I don't care who you are. Every woman screens men for Are you a potential rapist? And the best thing you can do to pass that test is respect the words no and stop. So if a woman says, that's condescending, that means stop. If a woman says, stop being so condescending, or do you have to be so condescending? Do not say, I'm not being condescending. Because not only does that indicate you can't respect no and stop, you seem completely unaware that that's actually what she's saying. So if you want a shot with a good woman and you feel called out right now, don't do that. Now, why am I saying this is specifically, like I said, for male-female exchanges? Because, rightly or wrongly, women lower their guards on other women. Now, we know what the statistics on same-sex intimate partner violence are. Lesbians in a lot of places are 45% of same-sex intimate partner violent cases. So, same-sex spaces don't make you safe. But the perception is that they're safer. I don't share that perspective. You guys know I'm not typical. I'm telling you this stuff to up your odds precisely because I'm not typical. And I spend my life going, why do women do these things? And I have had to decode this. I'm helping you. Now, why are these particular exchanges so important? Well, there's a lot of variables to consider here. One is there's different damage that happens as boys are growing up and girls are growing up. It's not that men are more damaged in childhood or women are more damaged in childhood. Men and women are damaged in profoundly different ways. And this is a social conditioning part of gender that is on top of, the effects of various endocrine stuff and physiology, and also, individuality, the individual things that make each person unique. The standard rearing of a boy, the damage a boy faces, creates this scar tissue over their emotional perception. It actually dulls boys' ability to sense the feelings and states of others. Research has shown that men overall are less socially attentive, less likely to be able to read facial cues. They're less able to pick up on the nuances of nonverbal cues. Now, men are more easily distracted in conversations. Obviously, this is not true across the board. I have a friend, he's a police interviewer, and his problem with women is that he's too attentive. So, like I said, this is not across the board. Individual results may vary. This is just the overall thing. Now, I cannot point to a study that says boys are actively damaged emotionally. The conventional wisdom is that boys aren't actively taught these social skills. I am breaking from the pack on that just because I've seen numerous examples of very pleasantly sensitive boys that various well-meaning adults of all genders try to toughen up to get them ready for the world. So it is an emotional scar tissue. It is a scar tissue over an emotional perception, right? It's not working the way it should. Women are damaged throughout childhood and adolescence in the exact opposite way. Girl damage is a raw wound. So everything is overly sensitive. So you've got, boyhood conditioning being a blunting factor, girlhood conditioning being an amplifying factor. And this is all training. And you might be going, well, this is a recipe for disaster. You're right. You know, we get into the business world and we see all the problems with women on the whole valuing interpersonal needs, men valuing power and control, but not just that. That's not innate. Certainly wasn't innate in me. Society demands that men value power and control, women value interpersonal skills. I do not believe these are innate because I know men crave connection and I know women want to feel in control. But as somebody who, and part of it was nurturing because I was seen as a more intellectual as opposed to emotional kid, even though I was a really emotional kid, but I was smart and therefore you automatically get branded like Vulcan, right? So I was trained to be more, get the right answer, right? Excel, achieve. And then I got into the working world and holy shit, did I get smacked down. There was nothing wrong with my interpersonal skills. They just weren't feminine enough to soothe the egos in the entertainment industry. It was brutal. And yeah, a lot of women, you know, don't have the sort of oppositional training I did. And I honestly think that is not a good thing in the long run. They won't get so punished in their early career, but then they never develop the skills to excel and be able to, you know, assert their skills and get people to see them. So you get those promotions and you move up, you know, doing really well in interviews. And, you know, that's why I love Song from Two Women Talking so much. She's very feminine, but she's assertive, right? And that's why we make a good team. But I've been looking for someone for, oh my God, so long to fill that role. And, you know, Song's so girly, but she's assertive. And that's very rare. And it's because of conditioning, right? And I mean, you know, one of the things I think Song really put into words, and I'm paraphrasing her, but, you know, women do, every person wants their primary romantic relationship to be a haven from the world, right? A haven from all the shit we have to, you know, put up armor over and suck up and put up with, men, women, and everybody else alike. We all want our relationships to be a break and even a healing space from that. But we aren't good at communicating what that means. And for men, you know, often it's being vulnerable, being emotionally expressive without feeling emasculated. For women, it's feeling protected, feeling safe without feeling like they have to submit. Right? And there's this toxic stuff going on in culture that, you know, women are taught to fear bad men, fear dangerous men. And so any man who seems, you know, the whole bad boy thing that I don't understand, I really think it's that if a guy seems like an asshole, but seems the slightest bit sensitive, and often that's a lie. Often it's a, you know, a narcissistic pageantry of emotion. It's not real depth, because when it's real depth, there's a need to protect it, right? When it's theater, well, it doesn't matter. Just put on, right? It's mile wide, inch deep. But it's that forbidden fruit thing that makes it sort of exciting. And that thing that good girls aren't supposed to have. And the whole good girl box is so limiting that I totally get it. So women are taught to fear bad men, but are drawn to bad boys, which are just bad men with apparent feelings. But then men, it's the same thing, right? It's the Harley Quinn factor. Like, Harley Quinn's crazy. And she's an interesting character. And I get why a lot of women that have gone through a self-destructive phase identify with her. And it's fine for guys to have sort of that fantasy from a distance. But I see so many men hook up with Harley Quinn types because, oh, they're going to be dynamite and bad. First of all, it's not true, actually. There's not enough of a sense of self to truly enjoy sex. So it's a weird and awkward, strangely unpleasant, this looked way better, you know, on the box kind of thing, pardon the pun. But also then you're stuck with crazy that isn't going to let you go, like bad crazy. Good crazy, good. Bad crazy, not good. And so here's some ways not only to attract the good women, the ones that are going to not be superficial and actually give you a chance and actually be interested in you as a person instead of you as a wallet or you as a status symbol, and also ways to screen for crazy. And this only works if you are prepared to go, okay, not for me. If you are so desperate to get with a woman that you'll take anything, this isn't going to work because you're not going to heed the warning signs. Okay? So first is admit when you're wrong. And what are you looking for? What? That leaves me vulnerable. Exactly. If you admit you're wrong, you will see me do this on Twitter all the time. If you admit you're wrong and the other person keeps going for your throat, either denies that you admitted you're wrong or shames you for making an honest mistake, next. That's not a failing on you. I don't understand. And in the workplace, it's sort of a problem. But again, that's a toxic workplace. If people can't admit they're wrong without some sort of derision, good managers should be stopping that. There are a lot of bad managers out there. But this isn't work. This is the relationship you're developing to be a haven from that shit. So you have to take it at work. Don't take it from a potential romantic partner. If people go at you because you admit you're wrong, move on. Win-win, right? You seem more charming. You screen for red flags. The second one. Listen to understand before you try to fix it. That doesn't mean you can't fix it, because I know there are a lot of fixers out there. Men like to be useful. But I don't know. I came about this because, you know, I took the plunge and learned how to build a computer. And other women, you know, I tell guys about it. Like, oh, that's cool. But women find it like, I wouldn't dare, because they're afraid they'd break it. And so men, I don't know if it's nature or nurture. I've just seen it that, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, a bunch of adult men were trying to fix a car and they ended up, I don't know, but the engine ended up on fire, right? And there's an element of social conditioning from the ages where women stayed home and men worked. And so You know, if a man broke something, he could go out and buy it with his own money. If a woman broke something, she'd have to convince her husband to let her buy it again. I think that's part of where it comes from. But men are just, in general, more okay with breaking things. And one of the programs I would absolutely love to do with girls, and I'm trying to figure out what the male counterpart is. Maybe you guys can help me out with this. But have girls fairly young, because building a computer is not that difficult. There's just certain places that are very delicate. You know that cold sweat you get when you put the CPU in because of all those little pins? And then you get the cooling paste on your fingers and it feels all weird. But just have a whole bunch of old computer parts and break that seal. Let girls put it together. And if they break it the first couple of times, no biggie, right? Everybody needs to practice, and women are not encouraged to practice stuff like that and potentially break it. It's more things like cutting your own bangs and doing it terribly, but that grows back, right? So I'd love to see the imbalance, but because of that, men have this impulse to try to fix it. If it's wrong, try to fix it again, try to fix it again. That feels very invasive. Listen, make sure you understand by, repeating what you understand back. Then ask if they want help. Then you can fix it. Because when you get to that process, you'll find, yeah, a lot of people in general do actually want useful help. They just want people who will actually make it better instead of making it worse. There was a guy on a live stream show I produced, and it was a complicated multi-camera setup using I can't even remember the name of the software anymore, but there were all these inputs and they were really prone to dropping and this, that, and the next thing. And this guy, because when you're troubleshooting anything on the PC, you check hardware before software. And so something would go wrong, and I'd start doing, and this guy would just start pulling cables out of either the recording devices or the projectors or the back of the computer. And it would drive me fucking nuts because it got in the way of my methodical troubleshooting. That's the same thing when you try to fix something emotional before you figured out what the problem is. You are going to drive someone crazy. Now, if they never let you in, if they never let you help, that can be a sign of some damage. That can be a sign of some emotional distance or some issues. So if it's always, I don't need your help, I'll do it myself, or you never get it right, or you never understand, not sometimes, but ever, that's a red flag. And this is why it's better to get to know somebody before, unless you're only interested in sex, and then, well, it's your own damn fault. You get out what you put in. The third one, I've already talked about this, but I'm going to reiterate. Respect, stop, and know, and don't argue perception. It is a complete waste of time. And I take this advice myself. I get falsely accused of stuff all the time. The most interesting thing to come out of that whole Hassan Piker harassment bullshit over fucking Mortal Kombat 11 was people coming at me out of nowhere on Facebook Messenger. Hi, I saw you through Hassan's video, racist. And there's no point in going, I'm not racist, right? I'd go, why do you think I'm racist? And it would, of course, be something I didn't say. I didn't say that. I said this. Well, this is, but I didn't say that. I said this. But I didn't say that. I said this. And eventually they'd admit that I never said the things that they claimed I'd said. But they still felt that I was a racist. Okay, dead stop. When someone said, I feel that you are something, that's emotionally manipulative. They may not realize it, but it's emotionally manipulative. They may have been taught emotionally manipulative behavior and don't see what it is, because a feeling is not a thought. I feel is followed by angry, sad, happy, joyous, nauseous, so on and so forth. A feeling. I feel that you. No. You can't feel that I am anything. You feel you. I'll feel me. If someone keeps doing that, red flag. Red flag. See how it works both ways in each one? I'm trying this new thing of making everything win-win. Everybody gets something out of it. And you only draw out this manipulation if you don't argue perception. Because if you're going to, stop condescending. I'm not condescending. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. I feel like you are. I feel like I'm not. You're not getting anywhere. It's a waste of fucking time. Everybody's just getting ratcheted up. What's the point? Save those steps. Fucking min-max conversations, man. Skip the spin cycle. But no means no. Stop means stop. Prime imperatives. You don't have to like it, but you have to do it. Because if you ignore no, if you ignore stop, pretty much everything that happens after that, you can get blamed for obvious reasons. And that's something we especially need to teach boys just as a safety issue. That's like date proofing boys. No or stop means no or stop. And if you don't get a yes, ask to be sure. It's not that much, and it can save just a world of pain. So again, benefits both, right? Fourth suggestion, communicate intents more gently. So if someone says something that stings, right? You're condescending. I didn't mean to be. Instead of, I wasn't condescending. Because, the idea is that condescending is intentional. And sometimes something can come across as condescending that wasn't intended that way. But both sides of that are valid. So saying, I didn't mean to be condescending. A sane person, a healthy person, a non-abusive person will care about that. And reciprocate with, hopefully, ideally they'll say, I understand you weren't trying to be, but this is how it came across. Please don't do that anymore. If they're telling you what's in your mind, even after you've backed off and said that wasn't your intention, red flag, potential sign of abuse. See how this benefits you as well? Okay. 5, and this is very, very important to thread that needle between feeling protected and feeling like you have to submit for a woman. Seeming in control means not having to assert control. It's the Superman bullets bouncing off, right? Someone who is super strong doesn't even need to block. Because the armor's so thick, is just ain't nothing. Luke Skywalker, one of the good scenes in The Last Jedi. I know there was some bad stuff, but the good ones, that meme of, that's the energy you want. Seeming in control means not having to assert control. You are not lashing out. You are not actively doing anything. You're just, it's like the beast block in Yakuza, where Kiryu's like, right? He's like, and it's just, everything kind of blocks. It chips a little bit, but it's like, everything. That's what you're aiming for. And it does take practice, but if after a little bit, if you're not lashing out and the other person is still coming at you, you're not retaliating and they're still coming at you, potential abuser. See how it works? You eliminate all the noise and you can really see clearly that there might be a problem here for your own benefit. And this one's going to be a tough one, the last one. Especially if you come if you come from, and so many boys do, because again, the emotional scar tissue, right? A lot of boys are denied nurturing, actively denied nurturing. When they reach out for nurturing, they're rejected to try to toughen boys up. It's terrible, but it's real. But even with that, it is great to want nurturing. Don't demand it. Don't make it seem like a woman has failed you because she didn't anticipate and meet your needs, right? She may be distracted. She's got things going on, right? Everybody's going to do it. So if you want the free fall, the grace period, the slack, when you're an emotional idiot, I know I am sometimes. You've heard two women talking. But you know, I'm a butthead sometimes. But because I give other people slack, I don't demand people be totally tuned in. I don't demand perfection from other people. You know, a song says it, she likes me enough to be willing to overlook a few flaws. She's a good writer. But, you know, no sane-centered woman wants to compete with a man's mother, especially if the mother's a problem. No healthy woman wants to replace a man's mother. No Homelander fetish shit, right? Like none of that. That's creepy for a reason, okay? So don't demand your girlfriend or wife play mommy. And you might not even realize you're doing it, but when you demand, you know, I thought you'd support me. Yeah, women do that too. But again, we're eliminating the smokescreen so you can see what it is, right? When you're not demanding, when you're treating it as it's great when you get it, that's what you're aiming for. But you're not coming across as entitled to it. When you're not coming across as demanding it, and it's the same thing, she starts demanding attention or your time, red flag. You see how it works? If you're not putting up as much, if you're not actively doing things, if you're not, you know, putting more data into the whole thing, it becomes really clear if there's an issue here or not. And again, you have to be prepared to walk away from any relationship if you don't want to be abused in it. And that's hard when you come from a difficult environment, an environment where there's a lack of nurturing. And there's a unique challenge for men in that regard, just because culture punishes boys for wanting that gentleness as children, right? Toughen them up. I hate that. I fucking hate that. I hate that with adults. They give you something to cry about, all that stuff. I got that as a kid. No, it's bullshit. It doesn't make you tougher. It just gives you more scars. So even if you early on adopt one of those, I guarantee you will see a difference. I guarantee you will start getting more information, because what psychologists see is that women actually take away more data from social interactions than men do. And part of it is because men are so busy trying to act as a rule, as a typicality, right? Not all, obviously. Some guys have figured out what I'm already telling you. But if you are more still, if you are more stoic, if you take a few moments to assess what's going on before you act, you'll collect a lot more information. Imagine playing an RPG when you're not reading to or listening to the dialogue prompts. You're trying to guess, you're trying to anticipate what the answer is going to be and pick it really fast. You wouldn't do that well, would you? But it's amazing how many people do that in real life, because they've come from, I'm going to come right out and say it, a household with an abusive or neglectful mother that demanded her son anticipate her needs instead of teaching boys that adults ask for what they need. That's the core of all of it. So if you came up in a home like that, it's not your fault. You were the victim there. But break the patterns. You'll be better off. All right. If you like this sort of thing, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching. I lost the thing. There we go. See, I told you I screw up. Thanks for watching Manly Mondays.